Well, first of all, here's Patrick if you can see him. He's just sitting on my lap and I'm playing Sims. Sims 4, my favorite game. And somebody asked me to talk about nature versus nurture on my YouTube channel. First of all, because of the trauma that I went through with men that I met in AA, domestic violence, I have lost some of my memory from psychology. Well, actually, a lot of my memory from what I learned in school. But I'll try my best to talk about this topic, nature versus nurture. When I think about the world and psychology, I think about the fact that there are a lot of dueling theories. There will be, one question with two kind of opposing sides or different sides. And it can be a very polarized field. At least that's what I found when I was in psychology. And that can make grounds for a lot of healthy competition and debate and so on and so forth. So debate is kind of at the heart of psychology, especially research psychology, experimental psychology. I guess some examples of this would be nature versus nurture. Another one is how memories are stored in our brain. If it's more of a storage sort of issue, is that how we remember things, or is it the systems? Are they stored in different systems, or are they stored in neural pathways? So there's that debate. There's debate in information processing. There's a lot. But when it comes to nature versus nurture, I think that both play a part in the development of personality and psychological disorders, mental health disorders. And the reason why I think this is basically because there is valid research on both sides of the argument. So, there are twin studies that show where twins are separated at birth and they're raised in very different environments, yet they end up with, these two twins across the world or country from each other are both doing the same, they both have the same job, they have the same interests. They may not be exactly alike, but statistically, it is significant that twins can be alike even if they're separated at birth. And so that's an argument for the nature side of the argument. For nurture, we have the rhesus monkey, which is a replica of human attachment, but the rhesus monkey who is separated from his or her mother at birth and is just beyond help, just really neglected and having a lot of issues because the rhesus monkey didn't get the first 5 years of love from the mother. So there's been a lot of research that personality really develops in the first 5 years, and attachment, the ability to attach to another person in a healthy way, develops in the first 5 years. And there's just a ton of research on that. So that's for nurture, which is that the first 5 years of our life can shape the rest of our life, and how we turn out. And especially if you look at abuse and the effects of child abuse on adults, you can see that the environment really does play a role in how we turn out later in life. But then, as I said, you look at the twin studies, and there's evidence that genetics also play a part in how we turn out. Other studies that I would think of would be studies on alcoholism, where there have been genetic bases found for alcoholism, that is generational. And so that's another another couple points for nature. But at the same time, abuse also can lead people to drink as well. And there is usually intergenerational abuse. So I actually have a big question about that one, because I've done a lot of research to see abuse has been taken into account in the development of alcoholism, but has intergenerational abuse been accounted for in studies where we study the genetic basis of alcoholism? And I have not found it to be, actually. So that would be a really interesting study to control for intergenerational abuse. The problem is that it's hard to track intergenerational abuse. People, a lot of the time, are in denial about their own abuse, so let alone abuse that might happen through generations in their family, especially people who have been drinking and whose brains may have some damage from drinking. So when I think about genetics and how they play a role in our life coupled with the environment, I think about the diathesis stress model, which is a model of mental health disorders, which basically states that you have the predisposition to develop, say, bipolar disorder. That's a genetic or a brain-based disorder. So you may have the genetic basis for bipolar disorder, and I'm just taking one out here. I don't know that much about bipolar disorder. I'm more of a cognitive psychologist. But anyways, so bipolar disorder, there's a genetic basis for it, or, you were born with the, with the biology to have bipolar disorder in your brain or genes or whatever. Sorry, I'm all over the place now. But anyways, so you're born with the genetics to have bipolar disorder, but you don't necessarily get it unless there is some stress in your life that sets off that gene, or sets off your predisposition to that disorder. And it's an older theory in psychology. I don't know, it's been years since I studied psychology, but I always believed in the diathesis stress model that, genetically you're predisposed to, you could say alcoholism too, but then something has to actually happen. And it's not taking the first drink. A lot of people in AA might think, oh, she's talking about taking the first drink. No, there's some sort of stress that happens where the genetics kick in for alcoholism. It's not you just take a first drink and you're there. There's a stress in your life somewhere. And, some people think that like all people in AA have been abused, but it's not true. But I bet that you could find stress somewhere in everybody's life that's an alcoholic or recovering alcoholic or abuse survivor or anything like that, like some other stress, if they have the development of, say, PTSD later on. Just a guess, just a hunch. But anyways, so for me, I don't think that it's clear cut that it's either nature or nurture. As I said, I think that there can be a combination. And for certain things, that combination is extremely, can really affect somebody, the combination of nature and nurture, especially if it's kind of a negative combination. And when I look at a lot of the theories in psychology, especially cognitive psychology, I also think that sometimes there's truth to both sides of the theory. And a lot of the time things can be, molded to accept research on both sides and accept both sides of a debate. So I just see a lot of gray area, and I see it with religion too, and evolution and all kinds of things. I don't think that anything is really as polarized as we think that it is. Our whole nation is polarized, and we don't need to be. Just like nature nurture doesn't really need to be polarized, in my opinion. It just doesn't. So, anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you.